This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. So I just want to share with you a few very important thoughts regarding davening in general, to try to upgrade our davening, see what we could do to give it more meaning to us. We know when we get up in the morning, so besides the Berachos HaShachar, well, first let's start like this. You know, when a person wakes up in the morning, the first thing they need to do is Moedani. That's true. They have to say Moedani. But before they touch food, or touch their eyes, or touch their ears, or touch any part of the body that is open, they have to wash their hands. Which includes, by the way, even if your eyes are closed, you can't put your hands on top of the eye before you wash Negovasa. You know, you can't touch on top of the nose. You can't touch the cover of any opening. So either you want to have the Negovasa as close by to your bed as you can, or you want to not delay and get to it first thing. Even before you get dressed, you need to wash your hands. You're not supposed to delay the tumah on your hands. So if a person touches food, now there's a question, could you eat that food? So you want to avoid touching any holes in your body. Now, you're going to wash your hands 3 times to get off the Ruach Ra. We know when a person goes to sleep, so the neshama goes up to Shemayim. Now that there's no neshama in the body, so the body is like a vacuum. You know what a vacuum is? It's empty. So because it's empty, so the Ruach HaTumah is going to come onto the body. You want to get rid of it as soon as possible. Now, okay, fine. So now you're going to get dressed, and you're going to put on your shoes, and usually a person has to go to the bathroom. Before you daven Shachris, you need to wash your hands again. Yeah, you know about this? Before you wash your daven Shachris, you need to wash your hands again and make a bracha of Al Natilas Yadayim before Shachris. Now the truth is, Mincha Mariv, you also need to wash your hands, but you don't have to make a bracha. But before Shachris, before you wash your hands, you have to make a bracha Natilas Yadayim. Even though, why do I have to make Natilas Yadayim? I'm not eating bread. Why should I make Natilas Yadayim? Anybody have any idea why in the world am I making Natilas Yadayim in the morning if I'm not eating bread? You're not even supposed to eat before davening. So I'm waking up and I'm going to say Natilas Yadayim. What am I saying Natilas Yadayim for? So there are 2 reasons. Anybody know? The first reason is your hands are not clean. What? You want to say? What do you say? Okay, right. So to start your day. Right. So good. So the Ruach Ra we already took care of, right, with Negovasa, the first thing you do when you wash in the morning. But to start your day. So there are really two explanations for that. First of all, there's the Rashba. You ever heard of the Rashba? Rashba is one of the great Rishonim. The Rashba says that every morning, even though we're not all Kohanim. Okay, Rafal is a Kohen, right? Just checking. Okay, fine. So, but before you daven in the morning, when you're going to shul, a shul is like a Beis Hamikdash. So in the Beis Hamikdash of a shul, every Jew is considered a kohen. So the same way the kohen would wash his hands from a kiyar before he would do the avodah, so every yid has to wash their hands before they do the avodah of Tefilla. So that's one reason for Natilas Yadayim in the morning. There's another reason, and that is, besides the Ruach Ra, your hands are dirty. You just went to the bathroom. You touched your shoes. You scratched yourself. So you have to wash your hands. Fine. I want to talk for a few minutes about some of the Berachos HaShachar. Of all the senses that we have, right? We have 5 senses. Which sense do we thank Hashem for in the Berachos HaShachar?
The eyes.
The eyes. Which bracha? Pakeach Evrim. Why don't we say, Hashem, thank you, I could smell. Thank you, I could taste. I go, taste, you're not supposed to eat before davening. Touch. Hear. Why do we only thank Hashem for sight? By the way, you know some of the other back in the times of the Gemara, they wouldn't say all these brachas together. When they got up in the morning and they opened their eyes, they would say Pakeach Ivrim. When they got dressed, they would say Malbish Arumim. When they stretched, they would say Mater Asurim. Mater Asurim, Hashem untied those who were bound. When they stood up straight, they said Zoikev Kefufim. When they stood on the floor, they said Reika Aretz Al-Moyim. So why is the only bracha that we're thanking Hashem for in the morning for sight? Why don't you thank Hashem for smell, for hearing, for... You ever think about that? Why only seeing? So I once heard from Harav Avigdor Miller, Zechat Bracha. So imagine somebody sleeping and all of a sudden there's smoke in the room and they say, Yankel, what? And he wakes up. Why does he wake up? But he's sleeping. Answer is, because you could hear when you're sleeping. You can still hear when you're sleeping. If you hear a loud noise in the room, you wake up. Or let's say someone's sleeping, they smell smoke. So you could smell while you're sleeping. You could taste if somebody pours ice cream down your throat in the middle of the night, you're going to taste it. If somebody smacks you in the middle of the night, you're going to feel it. There's only one thing you don't do in the middle of the night. You can't see, because your eyes are closed. So when you wake up, you can sleep with your eyes open, but you're not going to be seeing if you're sleeping. So the only sense you don't have while you're sleeping is a sense of sight. So therefore, when we wake up in the morning, we thank Hashem specifically for sight. Okay, so I want to share with you an interesting idea about the format of Tefillah. If you were to pick a number about which Tefillah is based on, meaning they made Tefillah about this number, you have any guesses? What do you think the number would be?
4. 7.
The whole Tefillah is all based on this number.
7.
Okay, so let's start like this. Some people, before they start the Shachar, they say Yigdal. What is Yigdal? Anybody know what Yigdal is? Yigdal is basically a piyut. It's a poem about what? Praises of Hashem. It's basically the Yud Gimel Ikrei Emunah, the 13 principles of faith of the Rambam. The Rambam formulated 13 principles of faith. There's one Hashem. Hashem knows what you're thinking. Hashem knows what you do. Hashem rewards and punishes. That there's Mashiach. There's Tchias HaMesim. The 13 principles of the Rambam are formulated in Yigdal. Now, whether you say it or not, I'm just bringing that to your attention. Right before Psukei de Zimra, there's a Brisa. What is the Brisa? Brisa of Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel Oimer what? What does Rabbi Shmuel say? B'shalosh esrei midos hatar nidrashos b'hem. Anybody know, by the way, what are the Yud Gimel? What are the Shalosh esrei midos hatar nidrashos b'hem? The 13 methods through which you could learn and darshan. Right? One is Kavah Chaimer, Gzeir Shava. Gzeir HaKasav is not on Rabbi Shmuel's list. But these are, in English, you know what they're called? Hekish is also, it's not on the list, but it's one of the Midos Shatar Nidrashos B'hem. What are these principles called? Anybody know in English? You ever hear? 13 hermeneutical principles of exegesis, right? These are 13 tools with which you could darshan the psukim. Yeah? Anybody know why in the world are we saying it before Shachris? Now, you don't have to say it. It's a nice thing to say. You don't... What?
Like remind ourselves?
Right. To remind ourselves of what, though? Of the methods that we're supposed to use to learn?
Yeah.
Why? We're not about to learn. We're about to daven. I would understand if before you open a Gemara, you say the Yud Gimel Midos, that's Shatar Nidrashos B'hem. But why before you daven would you say Yud Gimel Midos, Shatar Nidrashos B'hem? But there's a concept that the 13 ways with which we learn correspond to Yud Gimel Midos Harachamim. So, for example, if you learn Kal V'chomer, it brings out one of Hashem's 13 Midos of Rachamim. And if you learn Gzeir Shava, you brings out another one of Hashem's Midos of Rachamim. But again, how do we start the Tefillah? With what idea are we starting the Tefillah? We're starting the Tefillah with 13. Rabbi Shmuel Omer, B'shalosh esrei midos hatar nidrashos b'hem. Then we go to Baruch She'amar. How many Baruchs are in Baruch She'amar? You ever wonder? Now, when you say Baruch She'amar, what do? You take out how many tzitzis? Two front. So we're going to have to think about that. Why are we doing that during Baruch She'amar? So you say Baruch She'amar. You say how many Baruchs? Baruch She'amar v'hayolam. Baruch Hu. Baruch Oisav Reishis. Baruch Oimer V'Oisah. Baruch Goizer Mekayim. Baruch Merachim Al Aras. Baruch Merachim Al Brios. Baruch Mishtam Sot HaRev. Baruch Chai Lad V'Kam L'Netzach. Baruch Poidem Atzil. Baruch Shemoi. Baruch Ato Hashem. And then at the end, Baruch Ato Hashem Melech Mula B'Tishvachis. 13 Baruchs. So you take out your front tzitzis. And how many strings does a tzitzis have?
8.
And how many knots? 5. And what's 8 and 5? 13. So Baruch She'amar has 13 baruchs, and you take out the 8 strings and the 5 knots. Fine.
And that's only one. But they don't take
Each one, well, the truth is, if you take out 2, that's 26. What's 26?
13 times 2.
The name of Hashem. Yud Kei Vav Kei is 26. Now, Baruch She'amar is what? What are we doing in Baruch She'amar? What is Baruch She'amar?
Praise of Hashem.
It's a bracha. A bracha on what?
Hashem's name.
What is it a bracha on? What mitzvah am I about to do that we're making a bracha on?
Tzitzis.
Psukei de Zimra. Right? So now Psukei de Zimra starts with a baruch. What's the bracha at the end of Psukei de Zimra? Yishtabach. That's why you're not allowed to talk between Baruch She'amar and Yishtabach. Back in the day, if you were fighting for Klal Yisrael, if you would say one word between Baruch She'amar and Yishtabach, you were out. You couldn't be in the army. Why? Because you're wicked. You're not going to survive the war. So you cannot say one word between Baruch She'amar and Yishtabach. Now, the truth is, the only time by davening you're allowed to talk is between the end of Yishtabach and the beginning of Yotzarar. And even then, you're only allowed to talk if there's a tzarcha the rabbim. But if it's not a tzarcha rabbim, you can't even talk then. In fact, if you spoke then, and it wasn't the tzarcha rabbim, you also couldn't be in the army. They would say, sorry, pal, when the bullets are flying overhead, you're not going to survive that. But Baruch She'amar is the bracha on Psukei de Zimra, Yishtabach is the bracha at the end of Psukei de Zimra. How many baruchs are in Baruch She'amar? 13. How many parts of Psukei de Zimra are there? So by now, I imagine you have a pretty good guess.
3.
Let's think. We're going to go with Haidu. What comes after Haidu? Mizmal L'Saida, followed by Yichavayid, followed by Ashrei, followed by 5 Hallelujahs, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Followed by Baruch Hashem Le'olam Amen. Followed by Baruch David. Followed by B'charais. Followed by Oz Yashir. There are 13 parts of Psukei de Zimra. So why do you think there are 12? So good question. Vayosha is the 2 psukim right before Oz Yashir. So it's really part of Oz Yashir.
You could say that the...
So good. Baruch Hashem Le'olam comes from psukim in a different part of Tanakh, so it's considered a separate part.
Maybe by Baruch David and Becharis, there's like a line in between. Does that make it like one thing?
No, it's all part of Vayvarach, okay? So there are 13 parts of Psukei de Zimra. So now we understand why there are 13 baruchs in Baruch She'amar. Because since Baruch She'amar is a bracha on Psukei de Zimra, you hear this? Since Baruch She'amar is a bracha on Psukei de Zimra, and how many baruchs are in Baruch She'amar? 13. So each, and how many parts of Psukei de Zimra are there?
13.
So each part of Psukei de Zimra has another baruch. So now the question is, so then the bracha after Psukei de Zimra, which is what? Yishtabach, should have how many praises? 13. So let's count. How many praises it has? Brachos, v'haidais. No, I'm not counting right. Shiur, Shvacha, Hallel, Zimra, Oiz, Memshala, Netzach, Gedula, Gvura, Tila, B'Seferes, Kedusha, U'Malchus. Chayodam says, be very careful that when you say the 13 praises of Yishtabach, you don't want to interrupt. One breath. But at least, right? At least you shouldn't. You don't have to do it b'neshima achas, but at least you shouldn't interrupt. Why? So again, so it comes out. Think about the format of the davening. Before you start Psukei de Zimra, what do you say? Brisa Rabbi Shmuel. What's the brisa about? How many things? 13. Then you say Baruch She'amar. How many baruchs? 13. How many parts of Psukei de Zimra? 13. How many praises in Yishtabach? 13. So you say, we're done already, right? So now let's look at Shemona Esrei. Shemona Esrei, okay, you're out. It's not going to work in Shemona Esrei. Why not? Shemona Esrei, how many brachos are in Shemona Esrei? Right? That's the best trick question. Why? How many brachos are in Shemona Esrei? 18? Right, that's what it's called Shemona Esrei. But what did they do? They added a bracha. Which bracha did they add? Anybody know? Which bracha did they add to Shemona Esrei? Very good, V'lam al Shinim. What? V'lam oshinim. By the way, why did they add v'lam oshinim? Because in times of the Mishnah, there were Jews who believed in other religions. So they needed to differentiate between which Jews are loyal to the Torah and which Jews are not. So they composed a bracha that all Yidden that don't believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and believe in actually Christianity, they should die. That's the bracha of Al-Mashin. But they didn't know who to compose it. They didn't know who should compose Al-Mashinim. Does anybody know who composed Al-Mashinim? They went to a Tana, and there's only one Tana who was able to compose Al-Mashinim, Shmuel HaKatan. Okay. So you say, oh, come on, the whole Shiur is about how Tefilla is the number 13, and you look at Shemona Esrei, and how many brachos in Shemona Esrei?
19.
Right, 19. But the truth is, Shemona Esrei is perfect. Because how many brachos are an introduction to Shemona Esrei? Brachos of praise.
The first three. And the
First
last
three.
Oh.
So, right? Avos, Gevuros, Kedusha, right? Magen Avraham, Mechaya HaMesim, and Ata Kadosh. How many brachos are thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu after Shemona
Last
Esrei?
three.
Let's say, Moedim, Sim Shalom. So how many brachos of request are there in Shemona Esrei?
13.
13. There are 13 brakashos in Shemona Esrei. So the whole davening, starting from Rabbi Shmuel Omer, starting from 13 brachos in Rosh Omer, 13 parts of Sukkot Zimra, 13 praises in Ishtabach, 13 brachos in Shemona Esrei, they're all surrounded by the number 13. And what do we do right after Shemona Esrei? And what? Take 3 steps back. Good point, Yuda. But what do we do after that? Tachnon. But in Nusach Sfard, what do they do?
Vidoy.
Vidoy. What's in the Vidoy? And after that? You give Midas Harachamim. Why do you think the whole davening is surrounded by the number 13? Because the 13 represents Hashem's 13 Midos of Rachamim. That's the whole purpose and the whole function of Tefillah, to gain the Rachamim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So now I want to tell you just a few very important halachos to bear in mind during Tefillah. There's a big sugya in Shas. Mitzvahs tzrichos kavana or mitzvahs ein tzrichos kavana? Anybody know what that means? What does it mean?
It says you have to have intent in order to be the kind of mitzvah.
Okay, good. So here it is. I'm saying Shema, and I said every word perfectly, every word clearly. But it's still not enough, perhaps. What do I need to add? What, Yuda? What does that mean, you need to have kavana?
Think about being kind of mitzvah.
Right, you need to specifically have in mind, your name is Avi? So Avi's saying, Yuda's saying that you need to specifically have in mind that I'm being mekayim a specific mitzvah. It's a big machlokes. Let's say I said Shema and I didn't have that in mind. Are you yotzei or not yotzei? So, why would I not be yotzei? I did the mitzvah. No, the Gemara says that there's a very strong tzad, a very strong possibility that you need to specifically think that I'm being mekayim this mitzvah. So if mitzvah is tzrichos kavana, before I say Shema, I need to think I'm being mekayim the mitzvah of Kriya Shema. Does anybody know how we paskin? Do we paskin mitzvahs need kavana, or do we paskin mitzvahs don't need kavana?
You need kavana.
What?
You need kavana.
You need kavana. Shulchan Aruch paskin that mitzvahs need kavana. So you say, so you're telling, so that would come out. If you pick up a lulav and esrog and you shake it, and you didn't think, I want to be mekayim the mitzvah of lulav, are you yotzei or not yotzei?
No.
You're not yotzei. That's scary. But there's a chaye adam. The chaye adam has like a way out. But it's a b'di'eved, but it's sometimes you need to know about it. Chaye adam says that even though mitzvahs need to have kavana, since why else would I be doing this act if it wouldn't be a mitzvah? In other words, if this wasn't a mitzvah, why in the world would I pick up a palm branch and a willow and a myrtle and an esrog, a citron, and shake it? Either I'm doing a mitzvah or I'm a meshugana. But why would I be doing this? I wouldn't be doing a mitzvah. So the fact that why else am I doing it? That makes it that of course I'm doing it for a mitzvah. But that only makes it that you're going to be yotzei b'diavad. But if you want to be yotzei mitzvah l'chachila, you need to think, I am now being mekayim this and this mitzvah.
Not when you're sick, because you don't want to do any mitzvahs when you're sick, but you do it anyway. So
You mean, you in a situation where I don't have to do the mitzvah because I'm not feeling well and I'm putter from the mitzvah. So you mean in that case you can't say why else am I doing it? Okay, but obviously, right, I'm doing a mitzvah. So you could still, in other words, even though I'm pater from the mitzvah, if I am doing it and I choose to do it, then clearly I want to do a mitzvah. So under those circumstances, you could rely on this chaye adam, that the only reason I'd be doing it is to be mekayim the mitzvah. But again, it's not lechatchila. It's b'diavad. You know what b'diavad means? Yeah, who knows what b'diavad means?
Secondary.
So it means two things. You're both right. It means, you're like, it's okay. It's only a secondary level, I'm yotzei. And it means if I already did it, post facto, once I did it, I'm yotzei. So could anybody tell me? I want to hear 3 times in davening, we're mekayim a mitzvah, and therefore you should really have in mind, and to be mechabein, that I'm about to do a mitzvah. Shema. Okay. So that means before you say Shema, you need to take a split second to think. I'm now being mekayim the mitzvah of Kriya Shema. Now, okay, good. I was looking for that one. I didn't think anyone was going to get it. 1 second. The Omer, Sfira Omer. Yeah, but we don't do Sfira. But 1 second. By Shema, what about by Marav? Is it only by Shachas or is it by Marav also?
Both.
By both.
One's Kriya.
Now it depends. But it's only if you're davening at the right time. So let's say you guys should probably say Shema before the what?
9:10, I think. 9:10.
9:10. So you say before 9:10. Let's say I'm davening Shabbos late, 9 o'clock, and they're
If you say it now and then after.
no, because after it's going to be after the Zman. You're not mekayim the mitzvah then. What about Marav? Are you mechavin it by Marav?
If it's time for
You're down.
the night Shemona.
So when's the time for the night? Seis. When is Seis?
30 minutes after Shkia.
50 minutes after Shkia. 50 minutes after Shkia is Seis HaKachar. You have to say Shema 50 minutes after Shkia. So Shema, if you're saying it at the right time, who could think of another time during davening you need to have a specific kavanah to mekayim a mitzvah? Very good. The end of Shema, when you say Ani Hashem Lekech Mashor, it says Yeshem, I'm being mekayim the mitzvah of remembering Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. Well, but I said it. It's not enough to say it. You have to have in mind being mekayim the mitzvah that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. That's number 2.
Keep that in mind when we put on.
Yes. Yeah. What?
Twice.
What do you mean twice?
Why should we have in mind twice?
Oh, you mean when I put on my tefillin, I have in mind that Hashem took me out of Mitzrayim. Yes, but it's 2 separate things. One is I need to wear tefillin to remember Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, and that's one mitzvah. And another is I need to say that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. So there are 2 ways of remembering, and I have to do both of them. I have to put on tefillin to remember Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. I thought Rafal was saying, do I need to have in mind when I put on tefillin that I'm being mekayim the mitzvah of tefillin? What's the answer to that? Yeah. Now some people say l'shem yichud, but if you don't say l'shem yichud, you need to have in mind I'm putting on tefillin to mekayim. What if I put on tefillin? I didn't think I'm being mekayim the mitzvah of tefillin. Am I yotzei? B'diavad. But if I want to be yotzei l'chachila, I need to have it in mind. 2 more, very quickly. When else in davening do I need to have in mind that I'm being mekayim a mitzvah? That's important kavanah to know the meaning of the words Pasech HaSidach. But when in davening is there a specific mitzvah I need to be mechavin for? Berachas HaTorah. Berachas HaTorah is one of the only mitzvahs d'oraisa we do every day. So before you say Berachas HaTorah, you should have in mind I'm being mekayim a mitzvah. But what about according to the opinion of the Rambam? There's a mitzvah to d'oraisa to daven every day. So then before Shemona Esrei, I should have in mind I'm being mekayim the mitzvah, the eraisa of tefillah, it would seem. So you want daven? With all that? Okay. Shkayach. Thank you, everyone.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.